My name is Teresa Stevens, and some call me the Boss Lady. Welcome back to another interview with I Am Teresa Stevens. My guest today is Garrett Davis. Hi, Garrett. How are you?
Good. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for joining me. Garrett is the founder and owner of GD Productions and Film. Is that correct?
Correct.
Garrett, how did you get involved in film?
So let's start with GDavis Productions. So probably when I was a student at Fayetteville State University, it was my bucket list to always be in a play. And so I was a radio and TV broadcasting major, but I went to try out for this play. I got in the play, we went to New Orleans for this NASDAQ competition. I won Best Supporting Actor. I scratched it off the list. And my professors are saying, you got to major in theater. Like, I do not want to do this. I want a real job. My goal was to own my own radio station. And so I got a job as a general manager in this little small town of Rayford, North Carolina, running the radio station. Teresa, I was the GM, the announcer, the engineer, the salesperson, and we needed some money, so I wrote a play to raise money for the radio station. I made more money that weekend than I ever made in my life. Back then it wasn't a lot of money, it was a lot. And so I started making deals with God. I'm like, if I sell out this next city, I'm gonna quit my job. So I sold out Fayetteville. I said, if I sell out my next city, I'm gonna quit my job. So I sold out the next city. If I sell out my hometown, I'm really gonna quit my job.
So you quit your job?
I quit my job. And for the next 5 years, I was touring the country, mostly North Carolina and South Carolina, doing my stage play. And along came a guy by the name of Tyler Perry. And that changed the game. And so when Tyler came along, I couldn't go to the same city 2 or 3 times doing the same play because Tyler had these elaborate sets. He had these celebrities in his show. And so now it was like, if I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna have to write more shows. And so I wrote more shows. But things were kind of dwindling because Tyler, that Medea character just hit the nation by storm.
Right.
So I remember getting a phone call one day from a guy by the name of Arthur Primus, who was Tyler's promoter at the time. He said, Tyler's going to go into television. We're looking for plays to replace Tyler's tour schedule. And I was like excited. And so it was myself picked, Palmer Williams for his play, and Michael Bazin. Michael Bazin from, he had a book called Me and Cry in the Dark. And so it was turned into a play. And so it took 3 different plays to handle Tyler's one tour schedule back then. And then when Tyler didn't get the stint in television, that meant all of us were going home. So it's like, I'm in heaven, and then you get a tap on the shoulder that says, well, we made a mistake. And so I had to go back to work. And that was very hard for me because a lot of people had, joined me on my dream to kind of do this for a living. They had quit their jobs thinking this was gonna be a 2-year deal that lasted 2 months. And so when I went back to work, I said I was never gonna write another play. And so, but I did because it's in me to write. But I said, I'm never gonna go back and do it again, but I did. And so it became a situation I had to mentally prepare, like, gosh, why is this happening to me? The timing of this.
Right.
And so I applaud Tyler for all he's done because of his success has opened up many doors for me.
Right.
But I was questioning God, when is my time coming?
And so this was all during that 1-year gap.
This was the second stint with Jose came years after I had when Tyler didn't get his TV show and we had to go back with Arthur Primus. And now that I'm going back out again 2 or 3 years later. It's like I run into there's another roadblock.
So there was another obstacle. So outside of the first time you stepped out on your vision and you were working for 2 months and then you jump back into it a year later, it sounds like you ran into another obstacle.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Garrett, because it sounds like you have that creative drive, and this is your purpose because it's always been there, even though you have encountered those obstacles. What's the meaning behind your plays?
It was going through the difficult time of my life when I thought what I was supposed to be was the next. And God told me, I'm going to prove to you that you're not the next. Because, you know, what's for you is for you. Stop trying to be the next. You know, there can only be one Garrett Davis. So I'm not trying to be the next Steve Harvey, not trying to be the next Jamie Foxx. I'm trying to be the first Garrett Davis.
Right.
That was an expensive lesson for me to learn. So my grandmother died from Alzheimer's disease. And for therapy, I wrote a play called Forget Me Not to kind of get my feelings out.
Was it like a way of grieving?
It was
when
a way.
You say therapy, were you grieving and you just wanted to?
Teresa, I'm the oldest grandchild and a leader in my family. And when I went home and my grandmother didn't know who I was, I could not uphold that responsibility. I didn't go back until she died.
Wow.
And it was years later that I would hear that goodness would ask about me. And so now I'm having regret because I couldn't handle as a man seeing the woman who literally reared me. I couldn't stand to see her like that. And so now I'm putting everything into learning about Alzheimer's and wanting to know what did she go through. And so the play was therapy from the standpoint of just getting it out. The Forgive Me Not is not about her, it's not about me, it's just therapy. But during that time, Bernadette Stannis, you know as Thelma from Good Times, her mother was dying from Alzheimer's disease. And so Thelma and I started touring the country, raising the awareness of Alzheimer's because African Americans are twice as likely to die from Alzheimer's disease. And so we did this play to bring people together, and then from that we started, educating people. And then I became so engulfed with the Alzheimer's Association. I was the Advocate of the Year. I did a lot of things to go into these small towns, into these small communities, to make sure that African Americans knew where to get help if they're going through Alzheimer's. And so it was that one play that made me see why I was created and why it's not to be the next, but it's to be the first in doing what I'm doing. And so for the next 10 years, God opened up the floodgates.
Okay, so what you're saying is you were so focused on being like someone else. In other words,
not necessarily but being the next. I want to be like Mike. Everybody want to be like Mike. I wanted to be the next Tyler. I'm gonna be honest. I wanted to be the next Tyler Perry. I thought that because someone from his camp had selected one of my productions to tour, that I was on track. But God said, that may have happened, but that ain't what I had for you to do.
And I think it's okay to have role models and just say, hey, this what Tyler was doing is something that you would like to do as well. But I completely understand as an individual, God had a specific purpose for you. And until you focused on what that purpose was, things weren't working out. But once you kind of had that transformation, you're saying everything just started falling in place.
Yes. I used to have, I think I got a thick skin. I take constructive criticism. I can deal with a lot. But can you imagine having to deal with a $30,000 a week payroll, and you're depending on people paying $30 to $40 to see your show, and if you don't make payroll, where's the money coming from? And that's every week. To go and now you're paid before you leave home. God showed me a totally different way of doing this. You can still do theater, you're still going to be entertaining, but you're going to reach a certain amount of people that's going to have an impact and an effect on them. And the difference between you and these other productions, you will go and they'll see another production, and girls might get together and have wine and discuss, laugh, but you'll see one of our productions and you'll go back home, you're going to have a serious conversation with your husband. Baby, you need to go to the doctor to get your prostate checked. And so that's the difference.
Right. So you're a man of faith.
Yes.
What can you share with our audience that just kind of made you completely let go and give everything to God to move forward and just kind of be free? What can other people do to not be in control, because we all want to make sure that we're fulfilling our purpose in life, and be successful at the same time.
Teresa, there's a thin line between chasing your dream and running from your nightmare. Everyone has a dream.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of that, everybody's running from something.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest fear is if I leave today, all of what we're building leaves with me. So as long as I was trying to be the next, I never would have built a legacy. But the minute I'm trying to incorporate a group of people to own a vision, to do something to empower a generation, even after I'm gone, it's going to still be here. So that thin line, so, for those that are listening, we're all dream chasers. But, you have to come into grips that it's not yours. I'm not doing this for me. In the beginning, I was. In the beginning, I used to get a kicker scene in my name between, Ray Charles and such, and GDavis Productions. I got a kick out of that. That's my name. Like, what does that mean?
So what's your vision from here?
What we've done in theater by creating those plays like Mama's Girls, one of the longest running urban stage plays in the country, that started with AARP, that morphed into the American Diabetes Association with Mama's Girls 2, that morphed into Forget Me Not, that morphed into Daddy's Boys on prostate cancer, the Sisters at Heart on congestive heart failure. I want to create films now. Because you asked me, a while back, how did I get into film? If the pandemic hadn't hit, I'd still be running up and down the road.
So speaking of pandemic, how has that affected you at this point? It's been, 6 or 7 months since we have had to deal with the pandemic, and I know you had a lot of things lined up for 2020.
Oh my God.
So how has that pandemic affected you this year?
When it first hit, I'll be honest with you, I needed a vacation. Because I'm 54, 55. I don't keep how old I am. And I've never taken a vacation.
Never had a vacation. You don't take an annual vacation with your family, your wife? Mm-mm. So were you just so consumed in work that...
I got a good wife. Because somebody listening to me saying, ain't no way I'll be married to that joker. He ain't never took a vacation. I'll send my wife to the Grammys while I work. And, but life is changing for me because of how things have changed for my mother. I'm trying to get emotional. Everything, goodness, who had Alzheimer's, now my mother has it. And so now I'm looking at life and family totally different now. And so now, yes, I am planning family vacations. Okay. Now I am taking time out. But I am so driven to leave something for someone else because it's not that I'm wealthy, but it's what I'm making is first generational wealth. Mm-hmm. Dad, mom, no one left me something, say, Gary, go build a company. Mm-hmm. And what I'm building, I hope and pray I'll never get a chance to spend it all. But that means someone else will.
Right.
But that someone else hopefully will be, that daughter, that niece, those that I've empowered to do things with now. This can't die with me. Not that I'm going to die anytime soon, hopefully, but when I stop, it can't. And so family is more important to me now than ever before because I hate it took my mother getting Alzheimer's for me to see that.
So since your mother has Alzheimer's now, what have you learned from this experience? I don't know how long it's been since she has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And it made me think about the fact that you have been working so much and not really stepping back to take a vacation or spend time with your family. Mm-hmm. How do you look at self-care now?
God has a sense of humor. He puts me on a platform to go all around the world talking about Alzheimer's, talking about caregiving, talking about certain things, and then now I'm dealing with it. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so now I look at my wife differently. Now I look at my daughter differently. Now I look at those around me differently. And it's not like work. It's about, as opposed to me having a conversation with you about what's the schedule. It's like, when's the last time you've been to the doctor? Have you taken care of yourself? Health is top of mind now because mom's situation has taught me that life is short. And I have regrets of not going home for those Christmases. I'm always working. Mm-hmm. I miss my wife's graduation when she got her PhD because I was working. I got the best wife in the world because I've missed so much because she understands that I live this. Right. But now that I'm living it, I want to live it differently now because, so everything that I make now, I want to say, this is for you. Now, because none of this is never for me. It's bigger than me. And so
the power behind that message is you're still very young, and you can make a difference. Even though you have missed all of those special occasions of, your wife's graduation, family events with your mom, and so forth, at least you are aware of that. So do you plan on changing some dynamics?
Oh, for sure. For instance, my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. And so this Thanksgiving, it's my wife and I, my sister, my nephews, my daughter, my mom. We're going to be together, and that's going to be, I'm always going to now start taking those times out to have those family gatherings, because I don't want to regret when that time comes when, someone's not here. I should have did this, because I went through that with my grandmother. And so I don't want to live double regret.
Yeah, my grandma, I was actually raised by my grandmother as well, and so I can understand the emotion that you have, because it's nothing like having that praying grandmother and someone to instill that foundation in you. And my grandmother actually had a series of many strokes. And so throughout history, we're learning so much. We're getting educated about different illnesses. I know you're passionate about Alzheimer's. You've mentioned diabetes throughout this conversation. My grandmother had breast cancer, but that was not the cause of her death. But when they passed, I was pretty young. I was probably still in my 20s at that time. I'm not sure how old you were when you experienced that. But some of the things that we know now, for me, I felt like if I would have known that at a younger age, we could have been a little bit more proactive. So I'm very excited about the messaging behind the plays. I have not seen one of your plays personally. I've seen them advertised, so I'm excited about what you're doing this fall, especially in the middle of the pandemic. We're going to have an opportunity to be able to look at your plays on TV. Is that correct?
So what we're doing now is we are transposing all of our theatrical plays to a television format. And so the first one was Daddy's Boys, that's sponsored by the Prostate Health Education Network and Pfizer. And so we've ran the first 4 episodes that were taken from the actual play, but we recorded 4 new episodes in a television format. And so we're excited about that. AARP has sponsored Mama's Girls, putting that in television format. So for the holidays, you'll be able to, to go into GDavis Productions or GDavisFilms.com and see those episodes. And we're negotiating and trying to get a much bigger format, like with a Netflix or a Hulu. Hopefully that's coming. But the thing, the pandemic, had not been for the pandemic, I never would have gotten into TV this early. When it hit the first month, it was like I needed a vacation. The second month, my wife said, "You got to find something to do." So, and then, I was talking with Tom Farrington with the Prostate Health Education Network. He said, let's take your play and make some episodes. And so it's just like God has just been putting everything. It's like if I step outside my body and look at it, it's God. It ain't me. It's not me. I try to stay away from the words like I. It's all Him. And I always say we, but God is orchestrating this. I'm just along for the ride.
Garrett, we're right here in Winston-Salem. We have North Carolina School of the Arts down the street from us. Do you have any plans of maybe reaching out to some of the local students in the colleges? Winston-Salem is actually known for their arts. How do you feel about maybe trying to educate some of the college students and providing internships through your company?
I feel very strong about pouring into young people. We had a young lady who was in Forgive Me Not. She started off with us in the 8th grade and was with Forgive Me Not all the way through high school. Okay, and then we had another young lady, her name is Brianna Pierce, started with us in the, I think, 9th grade, and she's still with us. And so the company invested $1,000 a year while she's in high school into her fund. So when she graduates from college, she's got $4,000 to go towards her education wherever she wants to go to school. Last week we was on set recording Mama's Girls, and Nikayla, who runs our film division, had a student from a school. He's a film student, and that was his very first time on set, and he's a senior. Now I understand it's a pandemic, but the first thing I thought about was, Okay, if my people can have a degree and finish with a degree and still don't have the experience, and so therefore they're still behind. And so what can I do to change that? And so what we're going to start doing is we're going to start offering internships to students. We're going to concentrate on people of color, but of course we're going to open up to everyone. There's no reason why you should be majoring in theater or film and don't have any experience with a film company right here in Winston-Salem that tours the world. And we can offer that, and we are going to offer that, and we're going to make some of those paid positions, because that hurts my heart. I graduated from Fayetteville State University with a degree in speech and theater. And I started working in radio when I was a junior in high school. I was the youngest African-American program director of a 100,000 watt NPR affiliate radio station in the country. I got a lot of experience in radio, and I wanted to own my own radio station. But if a person majors in radio, if never worked at a radio station, never had an internship, they got a degree from Carolina, they got a degree from such and such, but who's gonna hire them?
Right.
And
what advice would you give a college student? You know, a lot of times they're looking for the paid internships. What advice would you give them if it's not a paid intern?
You know why we don't have enough time? Because first and foremost, before we even get to advice, we need to tackle the other A word, attitude. Because I have a theory that some young folks think it's going to be handed to them.
Yeah, I agree.
And if I'm not going to hand it to you, then I'm not going to get it. And then you get mad and upset when everyone's advancing except you. So we got to change the attitude.
Okay.
Nothing's going to be given to you. You know, I was impressed that this guy came out as a volunteer to be on the set. Then I told him, I said, you going to be here next week? He said, I was thinking about it. I said, well, I was thinking about paying you. You know, so the thing is, you got to want it. And I think what happens is young people, I hate for them to be labeled like that, because I got a young daughter. I just don't want young people to think something's going to be handed to them, and if it's not handed to them, it's not worth fighting for.
So it's going to have to start with us. We're going to have to continue to figure out how we can train them on being go-getters and reaching for it. And no one owes you anything, and you're going to have to put forth an initiative.
But that's attitude.
Right. So I started working as a teenager, just babysitting. And now I'm in the profession of owning childcare facilities. And so what messaging would you share with young people that are watching right now, watching this video?
If you are interested in film and theater, come see me. I'm in Winston Towers, 23rd floor.
Okay.
Come see me, because it's too much to get into on camera. I want to sit down and talk to you. I want to see what you're thinking about. I want to, and you don't have to pay me. I just want to sit down and pour into you.
And if they're not,
because no one poured into me.
If they're not in North Carolina,
call me.
What could they do in their own state?
You need to. How are you going to be in school majoring in radio and TV and not call the local radio station or the local TV station? Say, look, can I come down and volunteer for an hour? Can I come? It's got to be on you. That's attitude. That's not education. That's attitude. Because you got those same people with no education doing that. That's who got the job.
Okay. So, Garrett, before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience about what you have coming next year in 2021?
I'm excited about the whole film side. I'm starting to like that. You know, on the theater side, we was doing probably 40 shows a year across the country. On the film side, we get to go to 1 or 2 different locations. I can be home at night and sleep in the same bed and get to see my wife and family. But I'm excited about the things that are coming up. I think that we are going to be recognized as one of the leading film companies in North Carolina. That's my goal. And if we do it in North Carolina, then we can do it for the world. I just think I want to take no names. I want to take people who are hungry. I'm trying to build a team of people that are hungry and want to do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Sure.
Mr. Garrett Davis. And Garrett, do you have any social media platforms that you would like to share with the audience as well?
For the film side, they can go to GDavisFilms.com. And for the theatrical side of all our productions, you can go to GDavisProductions.net.
Awesome. I enjoyed our conversation. I enjoyed this interview.
Okay.
Thanks again for watching. I am Teresa Stevens. And if you would like to be here on this set, email me at teresastevens@churchchild.com. Thanks again for watching.